And we're live. Again, another jump start from the Google Hangouts YouTube live streaming service where I have no clue when we're going to go live until we go live. We got to jump straight into this week's SGGQA. I'm so excited about this week's episode. I may or may not be wearing pants. So let's get to it, folks. We jump right into some housekeeping because this week starts off my week of birthday giveaways. I've been teasing this since the beginning of SGGQA. I've been teasing it on a number of different outlets. It's there are gonna be a series of blog posts on somegadgetguy.com, and today is the very first one. We're starting out a little slower. Where I'm saving the two biggest prizes for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. To start so that we have plenty of time for contest entries on those two products. And then we're going to be filtering in some other really fun giveaways, flash giveaways, random quick giveaways on Twitter and Facebook and Google+. And today's giveaway, which there will be details on how to enter this giveaway at the end of this podcast, is from GGMM. This is the M Show BL610 speaker tablet cradle dock desktop lamp Bluetooth beast of a all-in-one floor wax and a dessert topping Bluetooth speaker. I reviewed this a while back, and this is proven to be one of my favorite Bluetooth speakers in that it's just so flippin' versatile. So you can set your tablet up on this stand. The gooseneck arm is strong enough to support this tablet, support up a really heavy tablet. Even my wife's iPad 3, which is a really heavy tablet, in an OtterBox case, and it props the tablet up. You can put a little Bluetooth keyboard under it, use it like more of a traditional laptop or desktop style computing experience. It's got a great Bluetooth speaker in the base, and then the bottom edge of that tablet stand has a row of LED lights, so it can also be used as a desktop stand. Just a great all-around product, very clean design, very pretty looking setup with nice chrome and silver and white plastic. It just looks really, really clean, and I will tell you how you can win that at the end of this podcast. So we've got a couple other little housekeeping things. We've got to talk holidays. So today's holidays, Brahm Pie Day. Brahm? Someone let me know in the comments or in the Q&A. And also, drop comments and questions in the Q&A if you want stuff read live. If you're following this and you want to participate on Twitter, you can tag questions with the hashtag SGGQA, and I will try and answer them live on the air. But today's holidays, Brahm Pie Day, Braham, Braham. Someone tell me how to pronounce Braham. And that's the Pie Day today. Today is also International Beer Day. Right now, my all-time favorite go-to beer is probably a classic Guinness Stout. I love just a milky, chocolatey. It's like drinking a whole glass of oatmeal in a single sitting. Absolutely adore a good tasty stout. But lately, especially because it's been so hot, I've kind of been digging on Hefeweizen. Something a little more citrusy, something a little lighter, something a little crisper. You get like a sharp, a very sharp sensation off the tip of the tongue, and then citrusy notes kind of follow after that. I think it's a very pleasant drinking experience. And then my other fallback is always a Grolsch. It's for me, it's one of the cleanest green bottle beers, and I absolutely love an ice cold Grolsch. I can't pronounce it. My dad's family's Irish German. That pronunciation didn't quite make it to my face. But I love a nice cold Grolsch on a hot summer day. International Beer Day. Today's National Lighthouse Day. I have no funny anecdotes for Lighthouse Day. I don't know that I've ever been to a lighthouse. My mom will probably school me on that once she listens to this podcast. And she's, well, we took you on that family vacation like 7 years ago. And I'll be like, Ma, I don't remember. Apparently, I do not have any fond memories of lighthouses. Today's National Sea Serpent Day. This is another one I want to throw out to the community, anyone watching. Would the Loch Ness Monster qualify as a sea serpent? Just some little food for thought, something get a debate going. Someone, drop a comment, answer the question, throw up a tweet. I would be curious to hear your thoughts. If the Loch Ness Monster, or what incarnation of the Loch Ness Monster might qualify as a sea serpent to celebrate National Sea Serpent Day. And then today is also Particularly Preposterous Packaging Day, which is a really dangerous day to try and express in front of a microphone when you have pee-pops and plosives that might impact the diaphragm of your microphone for that sound. Sorry to do that to your ears, anyone listening to this on headphones. Today is Professional Speakers Day. I am not a professional speaker, but I have worked with many professional voiceover actors and actresses who they make their living off of talking. And I would say that that definitely qualifies for some aspect of Professional Speakers Day because they are amazing individuals who can chew through language in the most delicious way possible, even for doing silly things like selling detergent on radio commercials. They're phenomenal. Some of the most creative and hardworking performers in the industry, and it's been my joy to work with them for the past so many years because well, you guys are going to know how old I am anyway because this is the week of my birthday. Woo! Birthday! So, excuse me, today is Purple Heart Day. I come from a military family, so big ups. No, come on, something a little more respectful than that one. Much respect and much love, and for all the people out there that have sacrificed for our country and for in honoring their service. Today is Purple Heart Day. I don't have any funny jokes about that, but again, it's having had a father who served during the first Gulf War conflict. But thankfully, I was very lucky in that he was an officer in the Air Force and his job didn't require him to be anywhere near conflict zones. Having had friends who have served in dangerous situations and having had friends whose families have served in dangerous situations, if you know someone whose family has been affected by that, maybe think about them today. Maybe send them a message today. Just let them know that you're thinking about them today. Again, holiday days can get kind of cynical or kind of silly or kind of commercial, but that's one where giving something like that just a moment's thought for part of your day would definitely be appreciated by a number of people out there who sometimes are forgotten after their service has been completed. So, and this is also something we're going to be addressing during the run of contests. I might not talk about it today, but this is something I definitely want to touch on later when we're starting to give away smartphones and stuff like that. So Purple Heart Day. Today is Raspberries and Cream Day. That sounds like a delicious day to celebrate. I like that combination. Raspberries aren't my favorite. I'm more of I like cherries. My wife is really into strawberries. Those are some pretty delicious fruits to be served with some type of cream. Although lately, I've been trying to lean out. So, I work in recording studios for when I'm doing voiceover work, and I do a lot of work from home now when I'm doing the gadget reviewing and writing and doing my editorials. So it's everything I can do to just not start developing what we lovingly call booth body. And so trying to lean out, trying to slim down. Lately, when I've been doing my dessert fruits, I've been doing them sans cream. So while Raspberries and Cream Day, I'm sure is a popularly celebrated holiday in your household, I might have to celebrate Raspberries and Cream Day with just the raspberries. And lastly, today is also Beach Party Day. And Beach Party Day, that's super exciting because yesterday we inadvertently celebrated Beach Party Day, where a group of us got together. This was with our pals at AT&T. And they gave us a bunch, we got 6 of the Galaxy S6 actives to go have fun at a water park. I'm actually going to flip into screen share right quick. I've got to pull up a photo here. It was a super fun day. So it was me and a couple of my favorite LA-based tech bloggers. And we were running around Surf City with waterproof phones. And again, it's kind of a ridiculous situation because we're going to a water park and we're those jerks out here on the lazy river. This is Jeb Brilliant from The Mobile Perspective and Pablo Ortega from Actualidad iPhone. And everyone's sort of looking at us like, who are these schmucks that can't put their phones away while they're floating around on little inflatable tubes while we float in water? And then, of course, all of the lifeguards there sort of questioning us or trying to politely tell us, sir, ma'am, your phone's probably going to get wet. So we might ask that you not take your phone into water. And we're like, no, it's cool. It's fine. We're jerks. No big deal. But it was a super fun day. You can hit the hashtag ATT Mobile Review on Instagram and Twitter, and you can see some of the other photos from the event. This is like I said, this is Jeb and Pablo. This is a shot from we were about to hit a water slide. I think I've got another one at the bottom of that. This is the beach house where they drop tons of water on you. So there's this giant bucket thing. I got video under the bucket. It was pretty cool. And there's me, because sometimes you just need to take an underwater selfie, folks. And when you need to take an underwater selfie, you need a phone that can go underwater. And that's one of the things Galaxy S6 Active can do, is that it can go underwater, so you can take your underwater selfies. And I'm kind of doing this little adorable nose crinkle. in my little underwater grin. It's really hard to take a picture underwater of you trying to look, super cute. And this is the bottom of that slide. So from the slide before, and I'm doing a picture-in-picture shot. So there's me and there's Pablo. And then somehow the phone had started zooming. So the water interacted with the screen enough to make it zoom. And then this is my buddy Trish. So this is Trisha Hirschberger from SourceFed. And she was also participating in the day's event. She's probably going to be coming out with her own video just about doing all the beach fun and all the water fun with drowning her Galaxy S6 Active. But she was on hand too. Just an all-around great day. Like I said, we've got some really fun photos from the event, so you can check those out. And yeah, that's oh, and I do have to say happy birthday to my pal Meredith Red. So we were also celebrating my pal Meredith's birthday during all of the Galaxy S6 shenanigans. So happy birthday. So let's get into questions and comments. That's enough with the housekeeping stuff. So first off, we've got a question from Twitter. And this is something that I wanted to talk about because I think it's something that is going to be changing soon here in the United States. This is from Alex in the Box 313. And he asks, why do USA people buy branded phones? Recently, AT&T said their Lumia 830 will never receive the denim update. Now, this got a lot of people upset, and I'm a little twitchy about this one too, even though I do have some great relationships with the folks at AT&T. So first of all, people in the United States buy branded phones because the carriers here have done a pretty good job of creating environments that sort of encourage some lock-in. And so, if you buy a phone for Verizon, for example, you can't take your phone and then go to T-Mobile. You just can't do that. They're completely different technologies that do the same thing. We didn't have a regulatory agency here in the United States that mandated that cell phone companies would all use the same technologies. We have competing technologies to offer the same services. So instead, in the United States, we more have the illusion of competition than we have actual consumer competition. Because if you were just competing on service, you would be able to take your device that you own and go to different places. So because these things are so expensive and because we have this little notion of consumer lock-in, one of the best places for someone to go to actually see what these devices are like in operation is a carrier store. So the relationship between consumer and carrier is a lot more solidified than the relationship between consumer and manufacturer. And so we have a very warped notion of what these things actually cost now, because we've gone through generations of this. This wasn't unique to smartphones. This started with flip phones and those are the early PDAs that started incorporating 2G and 3G data. It's also one of the reasons why I think companies like Nokia left the United States was because they didn't want to engage in that style of relationship with carriers and branding and marketing and all of that fun stuff. So one of the reasons why I think this is going to change is because our tastes as consumers have actually evolved here in the United States. Maybe not as fast as they have in Europe, but we now have a better sense of what these things actually cost over time. And I think that's reflected in some of the plans that are coming out from AT&T and from T-Mobile and Verizon just recently announcing that they were getting rid of all phone subsidies. There's no longer going to be a buy a phone for $200 on Verizon. You're going to be put on a payment plan, and that's going to be added to your bill. And I think you're going to have a group of consumers who are now far more educated as to how much this stuff actually costs. Because I think for a lot of people, they'll hear someone talk about, like, for example, I've got a Lumia 640 XL right here. This is a phone that you can pick up for around $200, $250. Now, if you go to a carrier and you do a subsidy, you can pick up a phone like an LG G4 for around $200. So why would I buy this phone for $200 or why would I buy this phone for $200 when I can buy this phone for $200? And I think we have an undereducated consumer base that don't fully understand that this LG G4, this iPhone 6, this Galaxy S6, they don't cost you $200. They cost you $200 up front and then payments on that after you pay that $200. And so I think moving forward, especially as more of these plans come out, I think we're going to see consumers more apt to actually look at their budget and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't necessarily need a top of the line flagship smartphone just for covering Facebook and Twitter and texting and emailing people. Maybe I do only need something like an Alcatel Idol 3, a Lumia 640, an Asus Zenfone 2, and I can walk out the door for $250, and then I don't have an additional $20 bill, $30 bill on top of my cell phone service. So I'm hoping that will change, and I really hope that there are going to be more manufacturers like Asus is trying to step into the smartphone arena. The most competitive technological space right now as smartphones are plateauing and reaching that market saturation, that they can start having a direct relationship with consumers. I think it's what Google wanted to do with their Nexus project. I think it's what Microsoft is trying to figure out how they fit into the marketplace with Windows Phone. And then, Apple has obviously set the standard for how you can interact directly with consumers, circumventing the carrier relationship. So I actually do applaud. Apple has risen the level of discussion there for smartphones in providing a direct outlet to consumers. And I'm hoping more companies are able to follow in their footsteps in that regard. Now, as for the 830 itself, it is kind of sad that AT&T is probably going to skip the Denim update. Although I have to say, for the 830, I don't know that Denim was so much better than, I forget what was the version of the sort of Nokia firmware before Denim. Someone's going to have to school me on that, and I'm going to be très embarrassed, which is French for very embarrassed. But what I am hoping is, as we see that Microsoft take their first steps into delivering on Windows 10, that phones like the 830 will just be able to skip directly to Windows 10. For me, it's very similar to what happened with the Icon, and that was super frustrating in the moment when people were having to deal with it. But eventually, the phone caught up to more recent software, so it was bad, but it wasn't catastrophic, if that makes sense. So thanks for the question, Alex in the Box 313. Recently this week we put out our review on Windows 10, and I did a very abbreviated review on Windows 10 because we're going to be shooting over the weekend to do tips and tricks on a number of just little one-off videos. I'm going to be covering this in greater detail, but the one question that popped up most consistently on my review for Windows 10 was, how do I feel about people sort of making a lot of noise about the privacy concerns regarding Windows 10? And the site that was called out most often was a scathing editorial written at BGR. Now, first of all, I got to preface this. I do not link to Flamebait. I will not link to articles from The Verge. I will not link to articles from BGR because I feel so much of their writing style and how they monetize their site is based on outraged traffic. So their whole business model is designed to either confirm someone's bias if they're fans of the same things, or to write such incendiary posts that they get tons of traffic from people who are outraged. They get tons of comments from people who are outraged. And then they take all that data and they show it to the people that are advertising on their site. They show it to their sponsors and say, look, we're driving discussion. Look at these thousands of comments. You're not going to read through thousands of comments. And they say, look at all these unique hits, and look at all of these and look at all these return hits that we get from people reading our site. Well, yeah, that's traffic from people who are flipping pissed about the subject matter, but they get to laugh all the way to the bank. And so I feel sites like that become so toxic. I mean, look at what Verge had to do recently in shutting down their comment section. They have been drawing so much trolling traffic, so much flame bait, so much outrage traffic that they had to shut their comments down because it was just too toxic a discussion. There was no discussion. It was just toxic rants. And I feel like that's not a style of editorial that I want to support. So first of all, that's just my general global rant on BGR. I feel that a site like BGR, in criticizing Windows 10 exclusively for this style of privacy concern, does a disservice to the education of consumers out there. Ultimately, we all need to be a little paranoid about what happens to our data. We need to be on top of this. We can't rely on companies because we are the products when it comes to the trafficking of information. We need to be responsible for our own data safety, our own data security, and our own privacy. So for BGR to pick on Windows 10 to this degree is completely disingenuous. So every single service on a mobile device has some notion of data pass-through, data being exchanged. So what's going on in Windows 10 to me is not terrifically dissimilar than when we take advantage of services like Google Now, Cortana on Windows Phone, obviously, and then Siri. Our information has to go live somewhere else and then get translated by a bunch of offsite servers and then come back to us. And so for all of those really nifty features, like when I fire up a Windows tablet and I put in my password and it automatically starts syncing all of my settings onto a little tablet that I have on my desktop, starts asking me if I want to back up the same apps so that I don't have to go through and manually install them all. Well, that means my personal information needs to live somewhere else. If I pick up a Windows phone and I start interacting with Cortana about like my favorite sushi restaurants, and then I go and I do a search on Bing, I know Bing, and then I do a search on Bing on my desktop, I don't want to have to recreate that bucket of data so that I get meaningful responses to the things that I already have informed my Windows Phone about. So that means there has to be some service offsite, which is cataloging all this stuff. And we see this time and time and time again. I mean, we've got the same thing, Amazon Echo. Do you really believe that Amazon is providing a speech control interaction or speech UI simply so that they can offer you, simply for your benefit? They are doing that so they can catalog information on you and they can serve you better product suggestions when you shop on Amazon. We understand this. It's whether or not we get the benefit of our data being trafficked and whether or not we feel our data is being protected as it's living on someone else's server. And out of all the companies out there, I gotta say, I don't distrust Microsoft any more than I would distrust Apple or Google in being able to keep my bucket of data safe. So ultimately, in regards to addressing the questions that I got on my Windows 10 review, yes, I am concerned about the amount of information that is being trafficked by our mobile devices, but I am not more concerned about Windows 10 than I am about Android, Chrome, iOS, Amazon, like I mentioned before. I really feel that this is just becoming the new normal and that it will be up to us consumers to make sure that what gets passed around is within our control. So that's Windows 10. Definitely check out the Windows 10 review. I'd love to hear your thoughts on sort of the summation review that I put together. And if there are things that you're wanting to know about Windows 10 specifically, definitely drop me some comments on that Windows 10 reviews, because that'll help me decide on what videos I want to address first for my tips and tricks, for some of my cranky rants. There are a couple little cranky, twitchy things about Windows 10 that I want to address in a separate video. And so moving forward, and then what hero devices I want to use, because I want to do sort of a spread. I might have to wait on this until we're a little closer to Windows Phone, but I want to do a spread on this is what Windows 10 is like on a small screen, this is what Windows 10 is like on a medium-sized screen, and this is what Windows 10 is like on a more desktop keyboard, non-touch screen environment. So your comments are going to be instrumental in helping me figure out how I want to arrange all of that content. So moving right along, we recently, do I have the phone over here? I don't know that I've got the phone over here. People on the video. Oh, I do have the phone. Okay, so we recently just published our camera review on the LG G Stylo. Now, I got this phone from the cats at LG along with the PR team at Boost Mobile. And this is actually kind of an exciting little productivity focused phablet that is going to come in. I think if you shop it on Amazon right now, you can find them for around $150. Completely walk out the door, $150. And you've got this is, I think, a 5.7-inch screen with a stylus. So this is entry-level hardware. This is not a super expensive phone, but of course, it's got a camera bolted onto it, and I take my camera reviews very seriously. So we released the most comprehensive camera review available online for the LG G Stylo. You can check that out. It's the same format that I do all of my camera reviews in, so you can kind of compare and contrast what you might think makes for a better camera. If you watch that video and then you go and watch my review on the Lumia 640, for example, you can compare two similarly tiered, not similarly priced, but similarly tiered phones and see how those cameras compare against each other. Maybe that'll help you make a purchasing decision. But we got a couple comments on this. And one of the ones, the first one is from John Coffey, who has a delicious last name. I absolutely adore John's last name. It's so John writes, I think LG should have made this a high-end offering with a Wacom digitizer, and I would have gotten it. LG needs to jump on the ball and redesign this product to grab Galaxy Note users. I think Samsung will lose a lot of fans that are on the edge of leaving by not having a removable battery and SD card in the Note 5. If LG offered a device with a Wacom digitizer, Snapdragon 820, 5.7-inch quad HD screen, removable battery, SD card support, they would snag a lot of angry X-Note users. P.S. No more rear-mounted speakers. I'm listening to my phone, not the person in front of me. Amen. Yeah, it's one of my biggest criticisms on smartphones is that we keep pointing speakers in the wrong direction. And I would really love to see a phone manufacturer give up on having a separate earpiece speaker. Just make this the main speaker. And then you can just turn the volume down when I'm on a phone call. And then if I need to go into speakerphone, it's pointing in the right direction right at my face. It's a win-win for everybody. And it means that you can remove one part of the phone and not have to worry about reducing the price, because consumers will go, oh, well, this one speaker is way better. Anyway. So for the Stylo, One of the things that I actually really like about this new market that we're coming into on entry-level devices is the fact that we can develop, this is a phone that's designed around productivity. That stylus really does help in jotting down little notes and sort of navigating around the UI, especially for people who also might have some sight issues, some visual impairments. In touching the screen, your hand doesn't block the screen. It sort of opens up the ability to utilize the device in a slightly more professional capacity. I'm a big fan of the stylus. It's also sort of a nice throwback to the classic like PDA days. It just something feels sort of right and old school and kind of cool about pen touch computing. So I'm actually kind of happy to see that a company like LG is putting their parts bin, is pulling pieces from their low end parts bin to put together a pretty well-rounded entry-level device so that they can capitalize on that part of the market. Although I do completely agree where LG does need to figure out, in my opinion, LG does need to figure out how they want to represent some of their larger screen devices. I love the G4. The G4 is maybe going to end up being my favorite phone of this year, but I think LG now has holes in their market where the G Flex and the G4 are very similar devices in overall fit, finish, aesthetics, screen size, capabilities. And I think that moving away from having a larger phablet, the original Flex 6-inch screen, that was a really audacious piece of tech. And I think they could, or the Optimus G Pro, the G Pro, the G Pro 2, they have a hole now where they don't have a proper large screen phone. And I know that everyone's saying bigger is better, and all of our phones keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you give us a specific reason to go bigger, like I think the Note still achieves this the best, that removable stylus, and you've got a 5.7-inch screen. It's a very corporate kind of device, a no holds barred, throw it in an attaché because you're that fancy kind of phone. And I think LG needs something like that in their lineup. So I absolutely agree with you there, John. I just don't think the Stylo was the right fit. They were obviously focused on the polar opposite end of the price spectrum when they built the Stylo. So hopefully we'll see like a G Pro where the Pro means it comes with a stylus. I would love to see a G Pro 3 where that becomes the new dividing line. So we also got another comment on this camera review from Kata Bogard. Kata, K-H-O-T-T-A, Kata or Kota. I feel you were a bit soft with the final verdict this time, maybe because of the phone's price. But some or most of the shots, I hate them. LOL, only the macro shots were good enough to make me think it is not a completely piece of junk camera. I don't know the price of the phone, but compared to the 640, it sucks badly. So I was pretty critical of the camera performance on the Stylo, especially in comparison to phones like the Idol 3 and the Lumia 640. I think those two phones have really set a standard for entry-level camera performance on smartphones. I feel that LG was probably looking at a certain price point, building in support for a stylus, and building in some of their Q-Slide apps, their little mini applets, built around the notion of that pen touch computing. So I don't disagree in that there were probably compromises made on the G Stylo camera. But we're talking about a phone that comes in around $100 cheaper than the Lumia 640. So already, this is a $250 phone on AT&T right now. If you pick up the 640 XL on AT&T, it's a $250 phone. And the Stylo is a $150 phone on Boost Mobile, or if you shop it on Amazon. So for $100, it's hard for me to get overly critical about the differences in camera performance. We're sort of bookending the entry level of the large screened, man, so many qualifiers on this. We're bookending the entry level smartphone, large screen smartphone segment of the market. That still doesn't sound like I've properly expressed what it is that we're doing here. But, for a large screen phone, like a 5.7-inch screen phone at $150 compared to a 5.7-inch screen phone at $250, I'm sure that $100 price difference can buy you some better internals to pack in there. And I think the camera is definitely something that the Lumia team, the former Nokia team over at Microsoft, were absolutely focused on. Whereas I think with LG, they were focused more on the productivity features of their sub $200 phone. And that's why we have that division. So especially while I was crafting that review, I think I was very upfront about some of the issues that I have with that camera. But my wrap up on that, the final verdict, because I don't give scores, I don't give thumbs up, thumbs down, or anything like that. I really want to just show what this camera is capable of doing, and my commentary is just sort of expressing my experiences having used that camera. I'm not trying to tell you don't buy it because I didn't like it or buy it because I think it's neat. I'm trying to say, you know, this is how the camera does. This is how the camera performs when you've got a predominantly red subject, and you can compare that with the other cameras that we've run through this test to see who can give us the best saturation on the color red. And that's going to be a very subjective experience. What you might experience with greens and reds and blues and yellows, and what you value in exposing an image or a video like that is going to be different than what I value. So it's not up to me to tell you what you should buy. But for the LG Stylo at $150, when you're focused on a productivity-minded phone, I think it was an acceptable compromise to make to reach that price point. And thank you for the comment, Coda. I like it when you guys try and call me out so that I can tell you all how you're wrong. So moving right along, we've got the Dog and Bone waterproof case. I actually don't have it handy here because I had to borrow an iPhone 6 to review the case, and I don't have it around anymore, so it's actually in a box back there. But Dog and Bone, they make a waterproof case for the iPhone 6. It's one of the slimmest that you can find, and it's another one of these cases in this is a thing that really weirds me out, where we're seeing these ultra thin waterproof rugged cases that leave the screen completely exposed on your phone, and it just really trips me up. I'm so used to like OtterBox armor cases. Like I want this thing fully encased in a brick of plastic that I get a little twitchy about these screen exposed cases. But I got a comment from Scott on this. He says, I have a life-proof nude case, and I'm having an issue with people not hearing me clearly. Everyone complains that I sound muffled. LifeProof sent me a warranty replacement, but it has the same issue. How is the sound quality with the Dog and Bone case? So this is going to be tricky. I don't look at cases as being full-time complements to my smartphone. When I have a phone that I really, really like, I try to keep a lineup of cases. So I might invest in a very thin, simple bumper case, a more of a Defender, OtterBox style Defender case, some type of armor, life-proof, waterproof solution. And then maybe I'll also augment that with something a bit more stylish, or a wallet case, something that I can maybe leave my wallet at home for an evening out with friends, just pop in a couple credit cards and I'm good to go. So I try and look at, and still a majority of the time that I use my smartphone, I'm probably using it naked without a case at all. Especially when we start talking about smartphone design. Like, you know, I really love the hand feel and texture on the leather backplate on the G4 and the faux leather backplate on the Note 4. Those are beautifully designed phones that I kind of like to show off. They become accents to my particular style. They sort of complement my particular style. So I don't like to cover them up in a case. I know that's anathema, but why design super sleek phones? Why design attractive phones if we can't show them off, if they're always going to be wrapped up in some case? So first of all, that's just my rant on cases. But secondly, when we start talking about waterproof cases, we are going to have to make some of those compromises. If the phone was not built specifically to include waterproof audio hardware, for example, like the Galaxy S6 Active, which we recently took out to a water park, and you can catch photos of the Galaxy S6 Active in action using the hashtag ATT Mobile Review. If it's not specifically designed around that notion, then we need to cover those holes in the casing. So unfortunately, that means we're probably going to encounter some form of audio degradation, not only for the speakers on that phone, the earpiece speaker and the rear speaker and the main speaker, the loudspeaker, but then also for the microphones. The microphones also have to be covered. So unfortunately, I don't know that there's a whole lot you can do to improve the situation. And moving from something like the LifeProof Nude, which, if I remember correctly, the LifeProof Nude is somewhat similar in being a thinner waterproof case like the Dog and Bone. I don't know that the Dog and Bone is going to improve the situation tremendously for you. And what I would recommend is maybe looking at more of a dry, rugged case, if that's something that's going to be more of a daily driver for you, and then saving your waterproof case for those instances where you think you might have cause to be concerned about water damage. I know that's not a terrific answer, but unfortunately, the only other solution would be to compromise the case so you can break those membranes and have a better exposure around your audio hardware, which defeats the purpose of owning that case. So, Scott, I hope you can work that out, and I hope that helped. I would look at maybe a couple different case solutions to help diversify your case collection. The next up, this is a slightly older video for me. I had a lot of fun putting this together last year. I did not spend a lot of time reviewing the iPhone 6. I really wanted to take a crack at the iPhone 6 Plus. So I focused on the 6 Plus for most of my Apple reviews last year. But it's funny how with a company like Apple, we do get into this really interesting revisionist history. I took a lot of blogs off of my feed reader when the Asus ZenWatch 2 was announced, as there were a ton of headlines. Asus releases watch, which is a copycat of the Apple Watch, which really angered me because the ZenWatch, the watch that my wife got me for Christmas last year, came out before the Apple Watch. And I can't recall, nor can I find using Google or Bing, or even Bing, can I find headlines, Apple designs Apple Watch copying Asus. That never happened. But the ZenWatch 2, which is a pretty good genetic, like a evolutionary step from the ZenWatch 1, is accused of copying the Apple Watch. So yeah, I unsubscribed to a bunch of blogs for what I thought were really hacky headlines on that. So we get kind of caught up in this. Just because Apple made a lot of noise with the Apple Watch doesn't mean they invented the smartwatch, or nor did they even invent this style of design for the smartwatch. But this came on my phablet fight. This is the iPhone 6 Plus versus Lumia 1520 comparison video that I did, where I made a passing comment about Apple ripping off the mute switch from Palm. I kind of felt that this was common knowledge, that especially starting from the very first iPhone, the iPhone 2G was very much a feature for feature rip on what Palm was doing back in the day with Treos. Single applets. You could only run one applet at a time. Very simple user interface, no customization options. It's just a row of squares. You touch on a square and you get information that pops up from that square on your screen. And even down to the hardware where they had a rocker switch, which would mute the phone. So I got this comment from Ivan. He says at minute 9:25, I'm pretty sure that Apple didn't rip off that mute switch from Palm Treo, considering that the original iPhone that came 2 years before Palm Treo had it. So we got into a slightly lengthier discussion, Ivan and I, where I suddenly clicked, and he admitted in a later comment that he meant the Palm Pre, which I don't think the Palm Pre had a rocker mute switch on it. I didn't ever own a Palm Pre. I actually should try and find one. I still have a Palm tablet somewhere around here, the touchpad. Anyway, so already he was so keyed up on the last incarnation of a Palm branded smartphone against the original iPhone that he had completely forgotten that the Palm brand, dating back to the handspring era, the handspring visor and the handspring Treo line, were the first phones to incorporate this as a hardware feature. And actually, I don't know that feature ever really made it over into Windows Mobile or Nokia devices, where with just a single button click, you could completely silence the phone. So it's sort of that, again, with the iPhone raising the bar on consumer discussion. One of the things I absolutely adore about Apple is that they introduced consumers, not businessmen, not, hardcore techies, but your average everyday consumer, to a world of smartphone exploration. But they didn't do it in a vacuum. They didn't do it all by themselves. They didn't invent any of this stuff. They refined it. They gave it prettier UI. I mean, the original iPhone UI versus the later Palm Treo UI. The iPhone UI wins. It's prettier. It's smoother. It's sleeker. It's far more attractive, even though it's still very similar in touch square open app. But you couldn't even install programs on it. It had a 2G data connection. Palm had already sort of surpassed a lot of that stuff at the time, and we had to kind of take steps backwards to bring consumers along for the ride. There were things that I was doing back in the day on Windows Mobile handsets that I feel Android is just now catching back up to in terms of file management, in terms of more advanced programs living on those apps. Thankfully, I no longer have to walk around with a build of Windows XP in my pocket, but it's still, like capability wise, we were doing okay before the iPhone came out. So I just kind of want to express that for the audience watching, that it's cool to be like tapped into what we're doing now. if you're really a fan of this stuff, don't get so cranky if someone a little older like myself is waxing poetic about the olden days, because we had some gear out there that you'd be surprised we were playing with. And don't get so locked up in one company's narrative that you don't realize that you're sort of maybe a little not well versed on some of the other things surrounding that company's product, that there are competitors out there for a reason. It's not that everyone wakes up in the morning and chooses to use an inferior product to the product that you use. Is that we have different needs and there are different solutions that offer us better capabilities for us to be able to get our work done over the course of the day. So that's kind of where I feel is like an appropriate place to take that conversation. But I do thank you for the comment, Ivan, because it gave me the ability to have that cranky little rant, which I don't get to have nearly enough on this channel. Moon right along. I got a couple more comments. I did that 2-month wrap up a little while ago on the LG G4. I'm still digging it. People ask me about daily drivers, and so far the G4 has come closest to being the phone that I kind of want to leave with every day, even though I have to review other phones and sometimes I have to leave the G4 at home. But so the first comment comes from Christopher Orlando. And Christopher writes, "Hey man, a few weeks ago, I got an LG G4 from Verizon, and man, am I disappointed. I don't know too much about electronics, but I must say Verizon messed up the G4. There are no smart settings, which is like a big deal because it's one of the things that makes the G4 the G4. I called in LG and Verizon and I'm getting no answers to why the feature is missing. I would have returned the phone if it hadn't been past 14 days. I just had to share this for anyone thinking of buying the G4 from Verizon." And this is one of the most, going back to that original question from Alex in the box, this has become one of those frustrating steps that we have to take when we have the carriers intimately involved with the relationship between consumer and smartphone manufacturer. And that's why I really hope that we can start walking away from it. If I could buy my phone directly from Samsung, I would still have Samsung bloat, but I wouldn't have Verizon bloat on there if I could just use that phone on any carrier that I wanted to. And then if Verizon isn't giving me the best deal, I don't have to rebuy my phone if I want to go somewhere else. I don't have to worry about features that were built in by the manufacturer being disabled for nebulous or specious reasons. I don't understand why Verizon wouldn't want to play ball with the smart settings. The smart settings on the G4 allow you to do things like really cool automated toggles. So like I can program in a GPS location, like my home, and say, hey, when I get home, disable my cell phone data and switch automatically to a Wi-Fi network. Or when I pair my car's Bluetooth, I want you to automatically pull up the music player and start streaming music or start playing music that lives on the device. So you can do some really cool, like just subtle lifestyle customizations. So I don't understand what the benefit would be for Verizon to eliminate that feature from one of their flagship Android smartphones, especially when they're big fans of, say, the Droid line. And Motorola loves putting in that style of lifestyle customizations. And it's not like the Droid is going to compete directly with the G4. Those are different audiences for smartphones, subtly different, but still different audiences. Someone who's looking at like a Droid Turbo isn't just going to suddenly go, oh, well, smart settings on G4, I'll buy that. It's a different consumer base. So, Christopher, I'm sorry that you're going through those experiences. It's always a bummer when we get stuck in some arbitrary missing feature set from a company like Verizon, having more influence than they probably should over the products that they're selling from other manufacturers. But we got another question on the G4 2-month wrap-up. This is from Bollyview. And Bollyview writes, "Hi there, I'm planning to purchase an LG G4. However, I'm a guy who loves to use cases on my phone. I feel getting a leather back and putting it in a case for a longer period of time is not a good idea. So what do you suggest? Should I get a plastic back or leather? Also, many reviewers complaining about autofocus issues on the G4 while recording video. Do you think it's a major issue? And as a last side note, that red leather back looks amazing. So yeah, I'm a big fan. This is technically more of a burgundy. It's not quite, see, like that's red. Even though this camera has terrible white balance, this is red, this is burgundy. It's very close to sort of a traditional oxblood. I love it. It's sick. It goes so well with my burgundy leather watch strap on my LG G Watch R, which came courtesy of Popov Leather. Definitely check out Popov Leather. They make these great hand-stitched leather watch bands. Just really great way to spruce up a techie piece of gear with something a little more organic, something a little more traditional and old school. So first of all, for the G4, if you're thinking that you're going to be spending most of the time in cases, I would definitely recommend against getting the leather back. I don't think most case manufacturers are accounting for the slightly extra seam thickness that comes off on the back. So when you put a case around this, it might be pressing up against the back of the phone, or it might not be fitting properly around the sides of the phone. Definitely a consideration if you're looking at something that's a little more water resistant too, is this might not be allowing for seals to settle appropriately. So I would definitely step away from the leather back on that. And then you can also do other cool things too, which I don't have here in front of me. You can also do other cool things too, like look at skins. So if you're looking at some sort of way to customize the G4, either from Slick Wraps, D brand, or my pals over at Toast, you can do wood covers, you can do synthetic, like carbon fiber style skins and wraps, really cool ways to customize the look of the device. And then you can also decide for yourself, if I want to do a wooden skin, you probably can't use a case with that either. But if you do like more of a plastic skin, you might be able to then wrap a case around that too. But those skins aren't going to play nice with the leather back. And I think some of those skins would actually damage the leather back on the G4. So especially for you, if you can, you might also be able to save yourself a little cash. So you can buy your G4, buy the plastic back, throw a case on it, throw a skin on it, throw a cover on it. And then later, if you want, maybe you can then buy a separate a separate back. So if you do want to play with a leather back, thankfully LG does sell them separately. So I think they're between $50 or $70. I spent $70 for two. I don't know if they're still doing promos like that. And they still might be doing a promo where you buy a G4 and you can get a free back. I don't know if that promo's expired either. They were doing that for a little while too, but I'm sure you'll be able to find kit like that on eBay, maybe even a little cheaper than buying it directly from the retailer. So I would definitely get the plastic back, and that way you can customize with skins and with cases to your heart's content, and worry a little bit less about compatibility issues because the plastic back has a slightly different thickness and there isn't that stitching running down the middle. So, woo, man, that was there's some great questions. We've chewed through a bunch. I feel like I've learned something and grown just by having to kind of look up and think about the answers to some of these questions. And I feel it's time to set up a giveaway, start giving stuff away from my birthday. Of course, for this podcast, we are giving away the M Show, the GGMM M Show BL610 tablet. What do they call it? The Bluetooth speaker stand series. This is a tablet stand with a Bluetooth speaker, a built-in LED lamp. It's a beautiful piece of engineering. And what I need you to do, this is for this week's CTA. This is the call to action. A number of you have asked for an audio version of this series of videos. So what I have started doing is ripping the audio off of the YouTube videos, the streaming videos that we've been putting together. And that is now a subscribable podcast on iTunes. So I actually just got yesterday the confirmation that it is now a listed podcast in iTunes. And it has its own separate RSS feed too, if you want to subscribe that way too. So if you would like an entry into possibly winning one of the nicest Bluetooth speaker tablet docks I have ever had the pleasure of using on Some Gadget Guy, I need you to share on your social network of choice a link to my iTunes listing or the RSS feed for this new podcast, the SGGQA podcast. And if you tag that with the hashtag SGGBday, SGGBday, Some Gadget Guy birthday, then that is one entry into possibly winning the M Show tablet speaker dock. And this is going to run the entire week of the contest. So as often, you're only going to be able to win once. But of course, for me to be able to give away product like this, I need you guys to share these videos and to share these podcasts and stuff like that. So if you, if you share it once on each social network, you get one entry for every social network you share it on. If you share it 30 times on Twitter, I will adore you. I will absolutely love that you have decided to share my podcast that many times, but it's only on Twitter, so you will only get the one entry. So share it on Facebook, share it on Google+, share it on Twitter. That's 3 entries. Share it on, I suppose if you could share it on Reddit, that would be an entry, but we don't want to go spamming Reddit because they get weird and brigadey. You share it on sue.co, share it on Instagram. You know, if you can link me to places where you've shared it, I will give you an entry for every social network that you share it on. And that gets you an entry into winning the M Show BL610. Tomorrow is going to be the biggie. I'm going to be talking about this on the weekly with Board at Work and BW1, and there will be a separate video on this channel detailing the full giveaway. But tomorrow we are giving away an HTC One M9 courtesy of AT&T. The folks at AT&T are showing HTC some love, hooking us up with a beautiful smartphone. This is one of the best audio smartphones on the market today. Great front-facing speakers, excellent headphone jack. You know, we can always complain about an HTC camera, but if your main reason for owning a smartphone is listening to audio, listening to music, or interacting with games, you know, the audio coming off of front-facing speakers while you play a game is a lot nicer than having to like cup a hand behind or try and plug in headphones. You know, I'm an audio guy. I care about audio. So we're going to be giving away a new inbox. This is the HTC One M9 I'm reviewing. This isn't the one we're giving away. There's an HTC One in this box which has not been molested by human hands, and this one could be yours. And I've got something really special planned for tomorrow. So definitely tune back in tomorrow to this YouTube channel, because I actually have planned for the One M9 is something that I want to do for my birthday every year now. This is going to be the tradition for my birthday. This is going to be the tradition for my birthday every year. And I think it's something that I don't know that a lot of people are going to do. I've got something picked that I think is not going to be a very high trafficked action. And so your odds of winning that phone, I think, are going to be very, very good. And then you can do whatever you want with the phone. You know, if you want to keep it, you want to use it, awesome. You want to sell it and get something else, I don't care. I'm giving away the phone. It's up to you to decide what you want to do with it. And then Sunday, so the HTC One M9 is courtesy of AT&T. This is only going to be a giveaway for the United States because it's an AT&T carrier branded phone. But for you international folks, I have an LG G3 and a series of the LG G3 VR kits. And these things are super, super cool. You pop your phone into this little headset. It's kind of like an old school Viewmaster style plastic headset. It's not cardboard. It's not, I mean, it's based on the same idea as Google Cardboard, but it's not made out of cardboard. It's made out of a really nice plastic. So I've got a bunch of these to give away, and I'll be giving away one G3 to one lucky winner. So definitely be on the watch for Sunday, and that will be an international giveaway. So any place that I am legally allowed to send a product to through the mail, I will be sending that out to folks. So tomorrow, Saturday, HTC One M9, Sunday, LG G3. And then on Monday, I'm going to have a fun photo giveaway for iPhone users. So you folks out there using the iPhone 6, I have an amazing camera case to give away on Monday. This thing is phenomenal. I've got a bunch of links. I did a review on it. I've got a bunch of links. Some of the best macro shots I've ever pulled off on a smartphone, thanks to this camera case from Stylus. This is the Stylus metal camera case for the iPhone 6. So even for you iPhone fans out there, I've got some fun stuff. I'll be showing you guys some love the coming weeks. Today, amazing Bluetooth speaker dock stand for tablets. Saturday, HTC One M9, Sunday, LG G3, Monday, Stylus case. We've got so much cool gear to give away, and those are just the beginning giveaways. We've got stuff leading up to the day of my birthday, so please keep participating. Please keep checking out these videos, because I think you guys are going to have some fun with some of the stuff that I've got planned. So, folks, that wraps another episode of SGGQA. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you got to subscribe to this channel if you want to keep up with this stuff, keep up with question and answer, webcasts, series reviews, the kind of stuff that we're putting out. I would not be able to continue producing on this channel if you guys weren't supplying me with cool content to showcase on this channel. We do have a couple quick comments that I want to go through here. This is on the YouTube channel. This is from Ka Wing Lee. Verizon announced they're planning to change their plan strategy and get rid of contracts. Verizon customers will also see a simpler, more streamlined bill for it. What do you think? Do you think T-Mobile, with their uncarrier moves, has contributed for that to happen? I definitely think T-Mobile has sparked a discussion, but I really do think that a big part of this are consumers are looking at different options for how they can purchase phones, and the traditional $200 carrier subsidy isn't always the most attractive. So I think companies like Verizon and T-Mobile are actually responding to market pressure. when we look at how things work in Europe and we say, why can't we have that here? I think there are enough educated consumers now that that's becoming a bigger and broader conversation. From Accelerator Railgun, I look at cases like clothing. I typically like my phones nude. Amen, brother. He also mentions, thank you. I'm not the only one that noticed that The Verge is toxic. I want to be careful because I'm not trying to rail against the editorial teams at The Verge and BGR, but I do use words like toxic because I think they actually detract from the discussion of the stuff that we all care about, because they've so engaged in a sense of tribalism. That tribalism just degrades any ability for us to have reasonable grown-up discussions about stuff that we like. We like this stuff. Why are we pooping all over it? Anyway. Dan Gersi asks, what do you think of the Nokia Lumia 1520? I love the 1520. I still think it's a great phablet. I've got a ton of videos on the 1520. You can check them out on this channel. I'm not going to spend too much time. Oh, and Accelerator Railgun. Lumia Black was the last firmware before Lumia Denim. Thank you. I totally spaced on that. I was trying to say Lumia Mauve, Lumia Chartreuse. I couldn't remember. So let's wrap up this video. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Philip SJ, for the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for watching in real time and leaving comments and contributing live. Please subscribe to this channel for future videos, giveaways. You now have the ability to subscribe to this series of podcasts as an audio podcast if you just want to listen to me ramble, as opposed to watching me gesticulate with my hands like some sort of deranged Muppet. You can get rid of all this distracting nonsense and just go straight to my voice. So that's definitely something you can check out. Sharing that podcast this week will enter you to win the M Show speaker doc. I'm really excited about this week, guys, because I've been doing Some Gadget Guy for 2 years, and I started Some Gadget Guy pretty close to my birthday. And you guys have been pretty amazing in supporting this channel, in sharing my videos, in talking about this channel recently, and also contributing to this channel. I've been getting people hitting my fan funding links. I've been having people specifically going out of their way to shop using my Amazon affiliate links. It's really been a wonderful experience in getting to meet people who, like me, want to discuss technology with a little more nuance, as opposed to always running to their camp and saying this is the best and everyone else is an idiot. So that's the kind of discussion we want to encourage here. That's the kind of contribution we want to celebrate here. And you guys have been along for the ride, even through some of my really twitchy transitions and how I've gone about even shooting my videos, offering up support, and also offering up some great criticism on how I could make my channel better. So this week is all about thanking you for that effort, thanking you for that support. And this is bigger than last year, so we can keep growing. And that means if we can keep growing, that means I can keep giving away even more cool stuff, and I can't do it without you. So thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. I can't continue doing this without your support. So sharing those videos, participating in the contests, hitting the fan funding links, shopping on Amazon affiliate links. I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. I'm getting a little worked up. All right, so we're going to end this. Thank you so much, and I will catch you all on the next podcast.